Hey Dan. Now that we've stabilized our food and resources, it's time to start thinking about expanding into other territories. And for that, we're going to need an army. At least one, and possibly more. Now, raising an army involves having weapons, and if you click down here on your little supply tab, you'll pull up not just your resources, but also all of the weapons that you currently have available. As you can see right now, I've stockpiled 40 crossbows, 25 maces, 25 swords, 46 pikes. They call them pikes, but they really do look more like halberds. 25 bows, and 12 suits of armor. Now, if we needed any extras, we could either tell our blacksmiths to start making some, or we can go into our little shop here, traveling shop, and purchase weapons as needed. But our current stockpile should be pretty good, so what we're going to do is click on this sword, shield, and helmet icon, and that will bring up the army creation screen. So each army is created in its own county, so here we are, raising an army in Taupe. We have access to 773 citizens, and right now the happiness is at 97, but if we start trying to conscript people into the army, you'll see that the happiness starts to drop. Now, how much it drops will depend on factors such as how many people are in your county and how recently an army was formed. If you try to create armies back-to-back, people really resent you. Conscription or the draft, whatever you want to call it, mandatory service has never been very popular. And as we increase the size of the army, you can see that the happiness continues to drop. Now, there is a minimum army size of 50. If you try to create an army smaller than that, it'll tell you you need to have at least 50. So, let's go back in, and in this county, let's start with 77. Right? We have 173 weapons in total. That'll drop our happiness to 77, but that's okay. That was about where it started when we first conquered this county. And just for the sake of it, let's see. Let's select the suits of armor for the knights, and you can see you can raise it up or down, or just take it to its maximum, or take it all the way back to 0. So let's raise an army that has 12 knights, and if you click on this, it sort of confirms it, and usually there'll be a little animation of a fellow walking up. Ah, there it is. As soon as you click on another weapon, you see this fellow comes along, grabs his helmet, puts it on, and then slowly walks off the screen. And there's a little animation for each. So let's see, we have 46 pikes available, and why not try to raise them all? Very good. And again, as soon as you click on another weapon, there we are, here's our little fella here, walks up, grabs a pike, and walks off. Now, because we only have 77 soldiers available, you can see down here at the bottom, here's the composition of our army, 46 pikes, 12 knights, pikemen, I suppose, and 19 peasants. Now, whatever you do, do not try to use peasants in combat. Don't put them in your armies. Even if you're just planning to use them as fodder, they are entirely useless. They will just take up space, get in the way, and they have essentially next to no defensive or offensive capabilities. But since we have 19 peasants remaining, we can take 19 crossbows, or crossbowmen. And if we click on one other weapon, there's our little crossbowman. Walks up, grabs it, and walks off. Now, as you can see, it's telling us that we can't raise any more swordsmen, obviously because we don't have any more unassigned peasants. Everybody who's in the army has a weapon assigned to them. So we can make changes in that, or why not just go ahead and click Create. So immediately what this does is we've taken 77 of our peasants, so we have actually lost, you can see in our population, 77. but they have formed into this army here. And, it looks like we'll need to shift some jobs around. So tell you what, let's put you up there, and we don't need you making any more weapons because we're pretty good, so let's do that. There we are. Now, when it comes to moving an army around, you can either just click on it, and then move it around like this. Every army has 15 movement points that it can use during its turn, and then it will have to wait until its next season to continue moving on. If you want more information on the army, you can right-click on it. It tells you their name. These are the Foxes. They're an army from Taupe. That matters because when you disband an army, which is this button here, it's a little, you can see the soldier heading back home.
Disband this army?
We don't want to do that. But when we disband this army, those 77 soldiers will return to being peasants and they will go back to Taupe. This button is for moving the army, and this button is for splitting the army. And what we could do, if we had at least 100 soldiers or more, we could split it into 2 armies as long as each one had at least 50 soldiers in it. And you can see you just sort of have to click. There's no quick way of doing it, unfortunately. But you just click through and select the how you want to split them up. But obviously we can't do that because we only have 77. And this first one is just moving the army. So again, you click on it, and it will show you how far they can move. Now, soldiers move fastest over roads, as you can see, but you can also tell them to move across this open scrubland. Unfortunately, it takes them more movement points to cover that distance, so you can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to come to the road, but then 4 to 8, 8 to 11, 11 to 14 just to go those 3 more spaces. But sometimes, depending on where you want to get to, it's actually faster to go through the scrubland. So, just play around and see what things look like. Now, you may have also noticed that we have our little wooden palisade here, and it has a red flag on it. That means that there are currently, soldiers garrisoned inside. So if you right-click on it, it'll tell you that having the castle boosts our tax revenues. It'll hold a maximum of 150 troops. And currently there are 50 inside, so we can have a look. And it has 50 archers. So, if you click here, you will sort of sally them out, remove them from the garrison. And now here we are, we have another army, the Pigs, of 50 archers. And what we can actually do is tell these 2 armies to go to the same spot, and when they click on each other, we can combine them. So, these are the Foxes still, but it's now a single army of 127. And what I'd like them to do is to head down south and get towards Periwinkle, I believe it is. Now, things in Periwinkle are a little bit different. 1, we have more population, so we can raise a larger army. But 2, you'll notice there are these gold coins with a sword on them, and what that means, if we click on the army creator icon,
A band of Scottish mercenaries is available for hire, my lord.
Is that there are mercenaries for hire. Now, normally you would need to create an army by using your own citizens and arming them with weapons, and then you would pay them wages. But with mercenaries, all you do is pay them, so in this case 1,800 crowns at the start, and then 50 crowns for every season that they serve in your army. So you can either say yes, you would want to hire them, or no thank you. Now let's see, we have 96 total weapons remaining, so how close can we get to that? 91. 91's pretty good. And just to create a little more of a balanced makeup, let's take that down. How about macemen? Very good. Nice. Now, just to go over quickly sort of the options that you have, the swordsmen, which we'll raise up now, are very good all-purpose fighters. They have a good amount of defense, a good amount of offense, and they aren't too slow. Macemen have pretty good offense. They don't have much defense, not very good armor, but they are very fast, so they're very good at moving around the map. Pikes, which we don't have any more of, but the pikemen have the strongest defense, but they are very slow. So they're very good for defending places on the battlefield, defending your fortifications, but you don't want to try and have them chasing people down. Now there are archers, who obviously have the advantage of being able to shoot from afar. They will fight in melee combat if they are engaged, but they do not have very good stats when it comes to melee combat, so it's best to keep them behind either your swords, pikes, or macemen. Knights, obviously, are much faster than anyone because they're on horseback, so they're the fastest. They have very good defense, very good offense. One of their drawbacks is that they cannot fill in moats, but we'll go over moats another time. But they are also very expensive. It takes a lot to raise up an army with a lot of knights in it. And lastly, crossbowmen. Crossbowmen are another ranged unit, much like the archers, but the thing about them is they fire at a slower rate, but they do have a better ability to pierce through armor. So if you're facing off against a lot of knights or against a lot of pikemen, crossbows are going to be your best bet. Alright, and we can create that army as well. And now we can have a look here. The stallions, very good. And we're going to move them up the road. Now what we could do is, since we're still in Periwinkle, is we could go in, set our slider here to 0, which would keep our happiness at 96, and just hire the mercenaries. So you can have an army that is simply one band of mercenaries. It's never an option to be able to put 2 mercenary groups together. At most you can have 1, but that's another way to quickly raise up an army without affecting your population or their happiness. And the last thing that I'd like to do is, I'm just going to end the turn here. And then we're going to send these 2 armies to the same spot and combine them into one nice large body. There we go. So now we have a total of 218 men. Now you can see that the icon is just a single soldier. I believe once you have more than 300, it's represented by 2 soldiers marching together. And then again, once you have more than 600 soldiers, the icon will be 3 soldiers. So that gives you a hint as to the size of any other armies that you should see marching around. And the largest army size you can create is 1,500 soldiers, which you would probably need if you're going to be besieging a stone castle or a royal castle. But we'll go over sieges another time. Alright, Dan, well that's everything I wanted to say about armies. So next time we'll get ourselves into some battles, and we'll show you what that looks like. Alright, Dan, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.